Hi everyone, welcome to Anu's classroom. In this video, we'll be discussing on the few important questions and answers from Unit 4 of Semester 2 Financial Management paper, that is MMPC 14 of IGNOU's latest MBA syllabus. So let's get started. First question is, what is the purpose of valuation and how it will impact the value estimates? So this Unit 4 is talking about all the different types of valuations that we do for our securities. Uh, Before going into the question, let us look at a little bit or a small overview of this entire unit. All right. As you would be aware by now, finance is kind of like the lifeblood of any organization, or you can say the oxygen for any organization. Without finance, an organization or a firm or an enterprise cannot survive. One needs an outstanding financial management skill to start or run a successful firm. We cannot overlook the utility of these funds at any moment or at any circumstance, right? The main goal of any business, okay, is to make profit, correct? And for this, what happens? How does businesses generate profit? They invest money in a variety of income generating assets that are sourced from various sources, right? So now the finance function or the entire financial management is focused on or aimed at determining the fund requirement and to determine the assets that are to be acquired or funds to be deployed, as well as determining the position of all the financing of the assets, right? Now, suppose in case there is an immediate requirement of money, okay, like take for example our own case, okay, what you can say, individually in our own families, suppose we have a fund requirement, an immediate fund requirement. Usually what do people do? We try to go to banks to get some amount of money, or a common form of getting money is by pledging securities like gold, right? So when we, or maybe we might even we might pledge our gold, or we might sell our gold. Take this example for now, when we go to them, they tell us that, okay, for this much amount of gold that you're giving us, this is the what you can say, we can only give you some x amount. Now, if we do not know what the exact value of that gold or that security is that we have right now, we will never be able to judge whether what price we are getting for that particular asset is that the worth, or is that a fair price, are we giving or are we being cheated, right? So valuation of assets or valuation of all the things that a business holds with itself is at most very important. It is used to determine the entire value of our business, right? So what is the purpose of valuation? The evaluation of the value of various assets, whether it be tangible or intangible, whether it be securities, liabilities, or a specific business itself, is called as valuation. So it is evaluating the value. Valuation is nothing but evaluation of the value of all the different things that are held by the business organization or the entity. The goal of this valuation is to figure out how much a company's equity or the net operating assets are worth. Why do we need value? Valuation is required because it provides a prospective buyers an idea of how much they should pay for an asset, and for prospective sellers how much they could sell these assets for. It helps in tracking the effectiveness of our business strategies as well as decision making. It helps in the identification of operational inefficiencies and create stronger cash flows. So the entire process of valuation, that is evaluating the value, it will impact the value estimates, because once we evaluate a particular asset, we would come to know how much is that particular asset worth. Then accordingly, our value estimates based on our needs and the fair or the existing current market price or the book value, all these different types of value, the estimated value that we hope to get out of that asset would change. So that is how the valuation of assets, they impact our value estimates. In case you are new to the channel and if you like my content, definitely do consider subscribing and hit the bell icon so that you will get notifications whenever I post similar contents. We have contents that are related to MBA from IGNOU, the new semester. As well as if you have any doubts, do comment and share the video with your friends if you find this helpful, so that we can all grow as a community and help each other in acing our degrees. Moving forward, the second question is, explain the different approaches to valuation. Give examples of each approach. So in our book, we have three examples or three approaches of valuation given. That the first is the income approach. second is the market approach, and third is the asset approach. In income approach, the valuation of assets or whatever securities, all those things, the valuation is done by considering the future benefits in the present value. And in the income approach, we have two subcategories of approaches. The first is the capitalization of earnings approach, where we divide the predicted earnings of a corporation by the capitalization rate. Capitalization rate is nothing but the discounted rate or the cost of capital. Okay, the cost of capital is what we call as the capitalization rate usually. And the second approach or the second method in income approach is using the discounted cash flows. So in this method, the business's present value is what you can say expressed in the form of a cash flow as a function of its future earning capability. In market approach, what we do is we compare the our business firms or our assets value or price, okay, with the price of similar companies or similar assets in the market. That is market approach. And asset approaches, we are trying to estimate the fair market value of all our assets to our liabilities to find the value of our firm. Next question, what is the need for valuation? What is the genesis of it? So genesis is another fancy word for origin. Okay. So so basically what is the genesis of it is they are trying to ask you how did the valuation develop? What is the historical progression, or what is the origin of this entire concept of valuation? Explain the various ways in which the term value can be defined. This is a very important question because this was question that came up in the June 2022 paper. Okay, so the need for valuation, we have already discussed it in this video. So let us look at the genesis of valuation. So we must understand that as companies expand, they become more and more complex, right? Both in the terms of its structure as well as the instruments that they use to raise as well as deploy their finances. Similarly, what happens is that the overall cash flows also constitute many sub cash flows from all the different products and services that they have. The fundamental principle of valuation is that the value of any financial asset is the present value of the expected cash flows. That is, the present value of the future cash flows that we are expecting in the coming years or in the coming period. And this principle will apply regardless of regardless of which financial asset we are trying to value. And so most of the companies, they start valuing the company with a very blank slate. So we start from, let's say, you can say zero base. We begin by considering all the sources of bias in our valuation techniques, and then we move towards evaluating how these biases would manifest itself in most of the valuations. Okay, and so from, you can say, from a very base perspective, from value of zero, we start by looking at the different assets, and we keep on adding based on the asset criteria, based on the what you can say, the nature of the assets or the nature of the liabilities or whatever component of the firm that we are valuing, we will find out its value. We will also consider all the different biases that we might be applying in when we are valuing those assets, and take corrective actions, and we find the value of these individual components, and we keep on adding it to the base value that we started up with. Okay, and then finally, once all the assets and all the liabilities and everything of that particular organization has been valued, the net not the net, the summation of all these things would give you the actual value of these of the firm. So then we will close this discussion of value, of how best to minimize or at least deal with all these biases in valuation. Now, the various ways in which the term value can be defined. So value has to do with how much something is worth, right? Either in terms of cash or in terms of importance. So as a verb, valuation means holding something in high regard. Like I value our friendship, but it can also mean that we are trying to determine how much something is worth, like a price valued of rupees 5,000. So there are many ways in which we can define value, and how we define value depends upon the context, right? So we have the fair market value, which is the what you can say, the market value that's prevalent in the market right now, based on all the net assets and liabilities. After considering all the assets and liabilities, whatever values available in the market, that is the fair market value. Then we have the book value, which talks about which takes our financial statements, especially the balance statement, and finds out the value of the firm based on the all the assets and liabilities of the firm. Then we have the intrinsic value, or you can say you can think of it as the true value. Then we have replacement value, which is the value which we will have to pay, or the cost, or the what you can say, yeah, the value itself. If we were to replace this firm or replace this particular asset with something else right now, then how much we would have to pay, okay, or how much we would have how much yeah, the how much we will have to pay for it, or what the cost would be. That is the replacement value. Then liquidation value is in case I am liquidating this particular frame or this asset, then what value would I get? So in liquidation value we have two types. One is the orderly liquidation, and the other is forced liquidation, forcible. Okay, so in orderly liquidation we assume that the liquidation happens in an orderly manner. One after the other, the assets are liquidated in an orderly fashion, okay, one by one, no force. Okay, it's a naturally it happens. Whereas forcible liquidation, there what happens is that there is some kind of an immediate high pressure on the firm to liquidate as early as possible. So what happens is that they will liquidate it forcibly. That is, whatever price they are getting, maybe at times the firms would be forced to liquidate or forced to sell it at that price, and that is called forced liquidation value or forcible liquidation value. So these are the various ways in which we can define the term value. So that is all the important questions that I found with regard to our unit 4. I hope you liked the video. If you did, consider subscribing and consider sharing it with your friends. And we have a lot of other semester or other videos also planned for MMPC 14, as well as all the other subjects that come up in the MBA new syllabus of IGNOU. So consider subscribing genuinely. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. It will definitely help me as well. So thank you very much. See you in the next video. Bye bye.